Okay, once again, from the if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video must be worth a million category. Here's just a quick little overview of what I do with my basic infrared workflow if I'm going to do channel swapping, which is what a lot of people do. It's probably the most popular thing that folks do with their infrared work. So this is a picture taken with a D800. At 720 nanometers. This is how it looks coming straight into Lightroom, straight out of the camera. The only thing that I do that's a little bit different is under the camera calibration, it actually tends to come in looking something like this. All right, and that's because Lightroom doesn't white balance Nikon converted cameras very well, so I have a preset, and this is essentially the preset that will help me achieve that white balance. So from here I'll do some basic work, and this is just to show you, this is kind of what I've done with this particular work. I tend to bring down the highlights because they get blown out very quickly with infrared, pushed up some of the dark areas, the shadows, and adjusted whites. So everything looked okay with that. And then from there I just go into Photoshop. So here's the same image in Photoshop. What I'll do here is the first thing I do is I duplicate the layer to do non-destructive editing, and then I open up a channel adjustment. And there are two basic channel adjustments that I have saved for IR. There's an IR channel swap, and what this does, this is your basic channel swap, and what it does is it takes your red channel, which used to be 100% red and 0% blue, and swap those two values, and it does the exact same thing with the blue channels. Blue is now 0%, red is 100%, and you have kind of a cotton candy look to the photo now, and you can play with things from there. I did find an alternate channel swap from another photographer, which gives a more yellowish kind of look to the work that comes from a 720 nanometer converted camera. I like this a little bit better for this. It's more reminiscent of what you get at 590 nanometers. It's more colorful. You can do some more things with it, and I like that better here. Next thing that I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll grab a levels adjustment, and I go ahead and just tap on the clouds. And what this does is it white balances based on the clouds. So now my clouds are going to be white. You can see the house is now essentially a black and white image, and I'm getting close to where I was in the final image. The next step I do is I just go ahead and I do what's called a hue adjustment, hue and saturation adjustment. So what I'll do is I'll go to the blue channel, all right, and now I'm going to just play with the hue slider and take a look at the sky and see, get the sky where I want it. What color do I want the sky? I can start playing with the saturation of the sky. So now the sky looks almost, almost real. It doesn't look like I've done anything in infrared. The skies look fine. Here I find the greens to be a little bit too yellow. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of move these to get more towards something that's, almost golden, golden color. So this is, with these basic adjustments, I now have the basic palette for what this eventually became. Now, there's a lot of different things going on in the shadows, some imbalance of light, and I spent a lot of time doing this. I also, since I'm here, I might as well show you, I have another preset that is in a black and white program called Silver Efex Pro. And what this does is I create a very highly structured black and white image from the color photo that I'm going to use to enhance the details in the color image. So I have a preset here that I just call, infrared black and white base, and I'll just click on that, and you can see what it does is it actually brings out a lot of the different details in here depending on how I like it. What I'm really looking to do is, you'll see the shades of gray. The darker the shades of gray, the more it's going to impact the final color, or the darkness of the colors in the final image. What I'll sometimes do here is I actually go ahead and I play with what is essentially a colored filter. I say essentially a lot, but it's really just playing with a colored filter as if it would be on a black and white camera. So if I have now a color that's somewhere around, the orange color, it turns your blues very, very dark. So I like that effect on the sky, so I'm going to save that, and it should just take a second to take this and bring it back into Photoshop so I can finish this up. But really what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this black and white image and I'm going to use it in what they call a luminosity blend mode. So what it's going to take is the luminance values, the darkness values in this black and white photo, and use that to adjust the luminance of the color photo. So you'll see that in a second. It's just taking a little while to save. This is a large image. The D800 has 36 megapixel files. So anyway, okay, so once we're here, I will hide this, and you'll just see here, this is the blend mode. I just go to luminosity, and what I've now done, you can see the changes in between it. It just, so off, on, so it darkens the sky and brings out some of the details. And this is very close to where I was with the final image. I used some other tools to do some lightening, some darkening, and add a little bit of painterly effects to it. But that is the gist of my IR workflow, at least for this image.